Here's something most people miss about why life feels harder today. By every material measure, life should feel easier. Yet subjectively, it feels harder. And if we're honest, by almost every metric, life is easier today. Take Louis XIV, the King of France, one of the richest, most powerful human beings to ever live. He ruled for over 70 years. He lived in Versailles, a palace so vast it became a symbol of absolute power. He was surrounded by servants from the moment he woke up to the moment he slept. But let's slow down and look at what daily life actually meant. Even for him, Louis XIV had no electricity, no instant heat, no air conditioning. The winters were brutal. Versailles was famously cold, damp and drafty. Despite all this luxury, hygiene was poor by modern standards.
There were no flush toilets. The courtiers relieved themselves exclusively in chamber pots or toilet seats. Latrines were available for less distinguished guests and large staff, but their number was absolutely insufficient. The castle staff relieved themselves in the gardens, but also in the corridors and staircases.
Medicine was brutal. King Louis endured repeated surgeries without anesthesia. He lived in chronic pain from illnesses, abscesses, from infections that could be easily treated in today's world. Communication was slow. A message could take days or weeks to arrive, even within his own kingdom. Clean water wasn't guaranteed. Food preservation was unreliable. A simple infection could still end his life. Yes, he had servants. Yes, others carried much of his physical burdens, but the limits of the era applied to everyone, even the king. Now compare that to the average person of today. You wake up with climate control, clean water, instant communication, pain relief, lighting at night, access to more information than the Royal Court of France in your pocket. If we're honest, most of us will choose this life, not his. And yet, despite objectively living easier lives, something feels heavier. The obvious answer is to say life got too comfortable, that convenience made us soft, that ease removed resilience. But I don't think that's the full story. I don't actually believe that comfort made us fragile. Every generation worked hard. Every generation struggled. What changed is how effort is experienced. In the past, effort happened inside something, inside family, inside community, inside a shared understanding of what life was about. When things were hard, people didn't immediately think that there was something wrong with them. Hardship had context. Today, effort feels different. It's constant. Work doesn't really end. It just changes screens. Messages keep coming. Expectations keep expanding. Comparisons never switch off. Effort is also deeply personal now. If you're tired, it's your problem. If you're behind, it's your fault. If you're lost, you're expected to figure it out alone. And there's another layer to this. We're exerting all this effort, but towards what exactly? Is it to get married? Is it to buy a house? Pay it off in 30 years? Take a holiday once a year just to recover from the life we're rushing through? Is that the story? Is that really the purpose we're meant to pour ourselves into? Because when effort isn't tied to something deeper, when there's no clear answer to what this struggle is actually for, struggle doesn't just feel tiring, it feels heavy. And when effort loses its meaning, it feels heavier than what it actually is. And this is where the Qur'an gives a deeper lens, because the Qur'an never treats effort as random. It never presents struggle as meaningless pressure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "So surely with hardship comes ease." That verse doesn't promise a life without hardship. It doesn't suggest struggle is a mistake. Instead, it reframes hardship itself. It tells us that difficulty is accompanied, that ease is woven into it, already moving alongside it, not waiting somewhere at the finish line. Think of planting a seed. You dig the soil, you water it, you care for it. At first, the work feels heavy, the soil is tough, the water is cold, the sun is relentless. But the effort isn't separate from the sprout breaking through. The struggle is part of the growth. Without the digging, watering, and waiting, the seed never becomes what it's meant to be. In the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frames hardship as a part of a process already unfolding. Every challenge, every difficulty, every moment of tension, all of it is part of a pattern moving towards ease, growth and understanding. It's not random, it's not meaningless, it's part of the design. In Islam, effort isn't meant to feel light, it's meant to feel directed. Because when effort has direction, patience becomes possible, delay becomes tolerable, and even loss starts to make sense. This is exactly what Carl Jung noticed in his clinical work. He saw the same pattern again and again. Many of his patients looked fine on the outside, successful careers, families, no physical illness, normal daily functioning, but internally there was a different struggle. Not clinical depression, but anxiety in the traditional sense, but a deep sense of emptiness, a life that felt like effort without a destination. Jung wrote that many of his patients were not suffering from any clinical definable neurosis, but from a senselessness and emptiness of their lives. It wasn't a dramatic breakdown, it was quiet, persistent. Life had lost its narrative, the story that gives effort meaning. They pushed forward every day, they achieved goals, they checked boxes, but it felt hollow. And over time, even ordinary effort began to feel heavy, just like our time today. What Jung observed was simple but profound. It isn't the absence of struggle that burdens people, it's the absence of meaning behind the struggle. Think of it this way: two people can face the same long hours, the same setbacks, the same pressure. One feels drained, like every morning is climbing a hill without no summit. The other feels steady or even energized. Why? Because their effort is connected to something larger than themselves. That's the difference. One is moving without direction, the other knows why they're carrying the weight. So if you're hearing this and thinking, yeah, this feels uncomfortably accurate, but where do I actually start? Here's what I've learned, both from Islam and living through this question myself. Start by noticing where your energy is actually going. Whose standards are shaping your days? Are you pursuing what genuinely matters to you, or are you constantly reaching to expectations, comparisons, and noise? Social media and work pressure quietly hijack attention. Awareness is where direction begins. The Qur'an constantly calls us to reflect, not in abstraction, but in real life, to recognize how dependent we are on Allah in every moment. When life is rushed and distracted, that awareness fades, but reflection sharpens your sense of priority. It helps you tell the difference between effort that builds something lasting and effort that just keeps you busy. Then there's community. Humans aren't meant to carry meaning alone. In Islam, the ummah isn't a theory, it's lived. Shared values, shared struggle, shared direction. When effort is witnessed and aligned with others, it stops feeling like a private weight you're failing to manage. This doesn't have to be dramatic. A friend you learn with, a neighbor you check in on, helping, mentoring, serving in small ways. These everyday connections quietly give context to effort beyond the self. Not ritual for its own sake, not perfection, but visibility. Reflection daily and make it concrete. Write a few lines, record a short voice note, ask simple questions. What actually mattered today? Where did I act with honesty or care? Where did I just go through the motions? Over time, patterns emerge. You start to see what aligns with your values and what quietly drains you. For me, this shift didn't come from some big realization. It came from doing something small every day, even when it felt pointless. Life didn't suddenly become very easy. Most days were quiet, some days were lonely, and for a long time, progress was invisible. I started posting one reel a day from Inherent Minds. I wasn't trending. I can't really say it was paying off in the worldly sense. Sometimes not even because I was inspired. Just showing up, writing, recording, posting, closing the app. Some days the reel reached people, some days it didn't. But slowly, something changed. People started responding, conversations were formed, a sense of community grew, and with it, the effort stopped feeling random. Even on days when nothing worked, the work itself had direction. It wasn't energy leaking into the void. It was contributing to something shared, something meaningful. That's what community does. It absorbs effort and gives it weight. And this is where Islam quietly anchors everything. When effort is done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for validation, not for applause, it stops being fragile. Even small acts carry weight. Helping someone, speaking kindly when it's hard, choosing honesty over convenience, those choices add up. And when effort is grounded this way, something changes. Patience becomes possible, delay becomes tolerable, even loss, the things that you can't control, starts to make sense. Honestly, life didn't get harder because we can't handle it anymore. We're handling a lot. What's missing is direction. We're putting in energy every day, but most of the time it's not clear what it's actually building. And that's when effort starts to feel exhausting, even when it's still hard. If you watch to the end, please like, subscribe, share. It truly means a lot. Take care.